Hello and welcome to ISOL 536 Security Architecture and Design Course Overview. My name is Dr. Alan Dennis. I will be your instructor for this course and I will be discussing the material we'll be covering during this course. Jumping straight into the agenda, we're going to go through the syllabus at a high level. You are expected to still read this syllabus, but hopefully I can draw out the important parts. Granted, it's all important, but the really important parts, so that you make sure that you don't miss something that is critical to your success. We'll also talk a bit about where the points are distributed in this course, and I'll go ahead and do the spoiler. It's during residency. Over 60% of your points will come in during residency weekend. And that's where we'll close the conversation around the importance of residency and why it is something that you need to plan accordingly and make sure that you're present for the duration. Moving on to the syllabus. The course description in the syllabus outlines kind of what's the point of the course. And this course focuses on basically concepts and standards associated with designing and implementing secure software. It addresses both the architectural and as in application and enterprise architecture type components, as well as the security framework architectures that are associated with creating secure software. At the end of this course, you should be able to talk a bit about what the threats are that are associated with web and cloud computing, how human factors and usability deal with threat modeling, talk a bit about the ways that we address the various types of threats that are associated with securing systems, and then be able to talk a bit about how it's always a trade-off between making a system accessible and usable and making it secure. And so balancing the amount of threat and risk that an organization is willing to accept with potential rewards. If you have not already done so, ensure that you get the textbook as soon as possible. I would recommend going to the link on the screen, which is the University of Cumberland's online bookstore, and looking for this text. And the title, Securing Systems, make sure you get the right ISBN and the right author and the date of publication so that you're reading the material that is recommended for this course. You might be able to find it someplace else. There's certain risk associated with doing so. So I would strongly recommend going to the University of Cumberland's bookstore. Moving on to a discussion around the requirements and policies with this course. First, the academic integrity and plagiarism policy. The University of Cumberland is a Christian university. What that means is that it was founded by and is associated with Christian principles and policies and approaches. Central to that is the concept of a way that people should behave, especially whenever they're doing academic work. Cheating, lying, and plagiarizing will not be accepted at this university. So be very cautious of doing any of those activities. Plagiarism is using somebody else's work without giving them credit. So if you find a blog post that seems like it is aligned with a question that you're being asked and you decide to reuse it, and you change some of the words in it so that maybe it doesn't get flagged as much by the plagiarism detection tools, and then randomly insert some citations, you've just basically plagiarized. It's that simple. So don't do it. I say that every term, and I fail students every term. The way that it happens, on your first offense of plagiarism, you will receive a 0 for the assignment. You will not be allowed to redo that assignment. You will have that 0. Don't ask, you won't be allowed to. That simple. The second occurrence will result in failure of the course, regardless of what your grade is, regardless of when it occurs. If it's the last week of class and you turn in an assignment and it's your second offense, you will fail the course. If you were to do that again in a subsequent course, or perhaps you've done it in a previous course so that you have a third offense, you'll be removed from the program. So it's something that is quite serious. You need to take it very serious. And the way to avoid citation or avoid plagiarism is through citation. I talk about that at length in some of the lectures that you'll have available to you. So keep that in mind. Basically, the short version of it is don't do it. It's not worth it. Write your own work, submit your own work. Don't use somebody else's previous papers and changing them, or changing two or three of them together and thinking it's going to get through. It won't. You'll get caught. Moving on to the next policy is around our residency. You are expected to attend the residency. Um, if for some reason you were unable to be able to do so, you're expected to attend the makeup residency at your own expense of at least a $300 makeup fee, and any other expenses that are associated with it. So you know when the residency will be. It's clearly outlined in the syllabus. Make sure you're available that weekend. Um, be available the entire weekend. Don't be late. Don't try to leave early. Don't disappear in the middle of the week or middle of the day. Be there the entire weekend while we're in session. You're expected to show up to class. I mean, that seems like something that I shouldn't have to say, but in a virtual world, that takes on a slightly different meaning. Obviously, you're expected to show up to residency, but you're also expected to be present and active in the course room during the term. Uh, and so there will be points adjustments made if you are not participating, above and beyond not receiving credit for doing things like discussion board activities and so on. So do make sure that you participate. If for some reason you have a certified disability, do reach out to the disability services coordinator and basically have that taken care of. What would happen is accommodations would be put in place to address whatever disability you might have. So if you happen to have a certified disability, do reach out to them. There is an academic appeal process that is in place, or policy that's in place. Both the syllabus and what's on the screen kind of outlines what it is. You have that right as both undergraduate and graduate students. So you have the right to challenge your grade. So if for some reason you think that the grade is unfair, this is the process that you would go through to attempt to address that. Here's the list of student responsibilities. It's basically spelling out that you should be engaged in the course, do the work that is assigned, be present, check your email, check the announcements, connect with your classmates and your instructor, um, and do academic and professional writing, uh, and basically, if you have any questions about that, do reach out to your student success coordinator. Do turn your work in on time. Late work will not be accepted, and I'll repeat that: late work will not be accepted in this course. That means that if for some reason you forget to turn it in, you're not going to get credit for it. So be engaged, pay attention to when things are due, and if anything, submit them early. Also, along that same lines, make sure that you're doing your work inside of APA format. That is the format that is used in this course. So make sure you're familiar with it. It's not MLA. It's not full justified. It is a certain thing. It is a certain way that things should be done. It's not just putting the citations in parentheses. So do become familiar with it. The other things that you're expected to do: review any assigned work that is given to you, participate, um, engage in discussions and so on. Uh, Constructively react to and evaluate your classmates' works. That means basically be nice whenever you're saying something about what they've done. Also, make sure that you do your work in a professional fashion, um, and use the technologies for this class. Here are some links to support. Feel free to go to those as you're watching this as a video. You could pause and write them down. They're also in your syllabus. You're going to be evaluated several ways in this course. They include The biggest chunk will be inside of the residency weekend. That's whenever you're going to be doing an individual assignment, which is a practical connection assignment of how this course associates with your job or your ideal job. And then you'll be doing a group project, both where you do a paper and a presentation. And there is a midterm and final project and a portfolio which you'll be creating as well, in addition to weekly writing assignments and discussion board posts. The grade scale is pretty much typical. The number of points in the course is at a maximum of 1,000. So if you have over 900 points, which is 90% of that, you'll get an A. 800, you'll get a B. 700 and to 790 or 799, I guess, then you would get a C. The course schedule is in the syllabus as well. It is in the course materials. Do review them. Do plan ahead. Maybe even set yourself some reminders if you need to. The syllabus is subject to change. Both the syllabus and the material that's presented in this course could change. If it does change, you will be notified. I don't typically see that happening, but it's there if it needs to be. So this is the disclaimer that says that it is subject to change. Moving on to the point distribution, and this is the part that might be pretty relevant for you as a student. The idea here is that you should know where points are going to be so that you can maximize your efforts on those things which have the greatest points. That's not to say you ignore the ones that are lesser percentages, but for example, if you were to not go to residency, you're not going to pass. So knowing that, pretty important thing. So the big red piece there, that is the residency, right? This whole thing out here, that's all residency. So you can see that is a lot, right? So make sure that you plan accordingly. Make sure that you do attend and do your best work during that. The remainder of this is made up of things like the weekly discussion, the weekly assignments, a portfolio, and your midterm and final projects. A little more broken down, these show you the pieces that are making up that residency weekend. It's an even split between the practical connection assignment, the group presentation, and the group paper. I've talked a lot about residency, so needless to say, it is important, right? Um, First of all, it is required outright. Even if there was some way that you could potentially pass without receiving 60% of your grade, I don't know what that would be, but if it did exist in some alternate universe, you would still need to attend residency to pass. So plan ahead. Do be on time, do stay for the duration, do be engaged, and do be present. Don't disappear on me during the middle of the experience. Stay around the entire time. Will not accept any excuses for leaving early, late, arriving late, or disappearing. You're expected to be present and engaged the entire time. Make sure that you do your share of the work in your group projects as well. Don't push it all off onto one person who ends up doing most of the work. Do make sure that it is an even distribution and you carry your share. And with that, we've completed the discussion of the materials related to this course. If you have any questions, do feel free to reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. Again, welcome to the course. I look forward to our time together, and I hope you have a blessed day.